So now we're on the top of Beis Amid Beis. A woman tells her husband that she's a nida, and now she says, "No, I'm not a nida." She didn't go to mikvah in between, but she gave it a masla dvarei nemenis. What's an amasla? So apparently, she was in a situation where it was very hard for her to have intimate relations, so she pushed off her husband by saying she's a nida. Tanamine arboim zimni. Shmuel asked that he hear it 40 times. He reviewed it 40 times, this psak din of Ra, that if a woman says Tmeani, she's believed to now tell us an amasla, and she's tahora. So it really sank into Shmuel's psyche. He apparently accepted this halacha of Ra, but yet, apparently there was one occasion where his wife said to him, Tmeani, and then she gave him an amasla. She said, "No, I'm not Tmea. I just said it because I was weak at that time." And Shmuel did not want to be makil for himself like Rav, even though 40 times over he reviewed the halach of Rav. And he was porish me, man. He said to her, "I'm not going to have a relation with you until you go to the mikveh." Tana Rabbanu, we learned in a brayso, Shnayim Omrim makes 2 witnesses testify that her husband died, and therefore she can get married. Ushnayim Omrim lo mates. Her husband didn't die. Another case. Shnayim Omrim nisgarsha, Shnayim Omrim lo nisgarsha. Harezu lo tinase, lechatchila it's trade, it's a suffix, and therefore we don't know who to believe. We cannot allow her to get married. However, in this case, if she already got married to someone, and now it's a question of whether or not we should bust up the marriage, lo teitze. So that's the sheet of the Tanakama this price. Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi Omer, he disagrees, and he says teitze even after she got married, just to break up that marriage. She'll have to get a get from her. We'll force a get from the second husband. Why? Because we have a suffix, and maybe the Eidim were testifying that she's still an Eishes Isha, telling us the truth. But Omer Rabbi Nachman Bar Yossi, now he restricts his chumrah, and he says, "Emosayni Omer Teitze." When do I say that we have to bust up the marriage mitzad suffix? That's bisman shebo Eidim yakach nises. If the Eidim, meaning the 2 pair of Eidim that were at loggerheads, came and testified, and then she decided she's up and getting married. She didn't pay any attention to the Eidim who said that she's still an Eishes Ish. So in that case, we're going to penalize her. And Teitze mi baila mi suffer. We're going to force the Baal's hand for a get because of this suffer. Aval, the Eidim who testified in Gasha or Meis Baila came first, and Vinises. Right, so she was basing herself when she got married on the 2 Eidim. We only have 2 Eidim now, and they're testifying that she's allowed to get married. The Achakach, after she got married, Bo Eidim, and another pair of Eidim came in and said, no, the first Eidim were lying, and it's low mace and low garsh. It's low teitze. Even Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yotzi agrees in this case, low teitze, because she had every right to get married, and there's no reason to impose any sort of knas or penalty on her. So when did Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi say teitze? That's when she had no right to get married, because the 2 pairs of Eidim already came in and testified. She's in a suffix situation. She had no right to get married. So the Gemara asks, what do you mean imnises lo teitze? The whole concept of imnises lo teitze makes no sense. Trey utrei michti trey trenu. Habol lev Hashem tolik. The Torah says that if you violated Iser Kares B'Shogeg and it's a suffix, you'll have to bring a korban asham. So how can you tell me imnises lo teitze? Every time they have a relationship, they chayiv another asham. There's suffix HZ. Amar Rav Sheshes, shenisais li echad meidel. He gufa b'shem toli kaima ve'omeres barili. So Rav Ashi says that this halacha of niseis lo teitze is a case where, in the minds of both the woman and her new husband, there's no suffix. How could it be there's no suffix? Because she got married to one of the Aiden who testified that her husband, her first husband, divorced her or died. And even though she doesn't have that Aidus, what she has in front of her is Treu Trey. And the answer is Barilu. She knows that her husband died. Meaning if he was alive, he would have come back. And in such a case, there's no chiyuv of karbonosh. Om Rabbi Yochanan, Shnayim omrim meis, u'shnayim omrim lo meis. Arezu lo tinosim, this is lo teitze. I'm on his gash, Shnayim omrim lo gash, arezu lo tinosim, this is teitze. So Gemara is going to ask what's going on. In the ratio, when you have trey on misas abal, we have halacha im niseis lo teitze. In the Sefer, we have trey on Gerishin. Now we're going to say afilu niseis teitze. Maishna ratio, Maishna Sefer. Amar Abaye tirgumei bi'ed echad. Rabbi Yochanan was not talking about a case where we have shtei kitei edim hamachishim zedze, but rather it was one aid and there was hakasha with another aid. One aid against one aid. One aid says meis on his garsha, the other one says lo his garsha lo meis. And therefore, aid echad over meis hemnu rabbanan kibei trey. The rabbanan accepted aid misa, one single aid, and therefore elevated the status of that one aid to two aidim. Ukidel ula the amar ula komak shavini tarli echad shnayim. So once an Eid Echad is believed to say Meis Bailech or Girsha Bailech, his Nemanis is upgraded according to Ula to the status of two Eidim. Because the Torah believes one Eid as if he's two Eidim, the high, but the Torah never gave any special credibility to someone who says Lo Meis. So the one who's saying Lo Meis, he's one against two. Why don't we allow to get married based on the testimony of one aide who says Meis on his karsha? It's a pasuk in Mishlei. And the pasuk says, don't do anything that people will think, they're going to make fun and they're going to speak about you in a way that's pejorative. But remove from yourself any possibility of being vulnerable to lezus fasayim by doing something that people will be maranein olav. They'll think he's violating the Torah law. Here too. One witness said mace. The second witness said lo mace. We don't know the din of Eid Echad Arei Kishnayim of Ula. Only the outstanding scholars know that din. And therefore, the onlooker is going to assume that we're talking about Isha b'chezkas eishes ish. And Shnei Eidim are testifying on her that she was an Eishes Ish. And that's going to bring to Lazus Fasayim. Why? Because one aide is telling us that her husband died. And you have another aide who contradicts that aide. So you have one aide against one aide, again, in the mind of the spectator. And therefore, we should go back to Al-Cheskes Eishes Ish. We had plenty of Eidim who testified that she was a married woman. So we're smart because we're great scholars. We know the halacha, the principle of ula, harekan shnaim, but they don't know that. So in their mind, it's 1 aid against another aid. And now you're going to allow her to get married? That's called lazus vasayin. Now we get to the sefer. We have two witnesses that agree that she was an Eshes Ish. We have one witness who says that she got a get. And now that one witness is contradicting the Cheskes Eshes Ish. And that Cheskes Eshes Ish was established based on 2 Eidim. We said before that the Torah believes 1 Eid Kishnayim in the case of Meis Bailek, but not in the case of this Garsha. The Torah never upgraded the status of 1 Eid to testify that a woman's a Kusha. Adarabah, the Torah says, Al Pishnayim Eidim Yokin Dover, Ein Dover Shebever Poks Vishnayim. Rav Hamar Liolam Trey Ninu. You don't have to say the way you said it, that Rabbi Yochan's talking about a case of 1 Eid against 1 Eid. It's 2 Eidim against 2 Eidim. So now you have to ask yourself, when you have 2 Eidim, Makrish 2 Eidim, Shtei Kiti Eidos Amachichos Elu Ves Elu. And we said that according to Rabbi Nachum, Rabbi Yossi, even if she went ahead and got married, Teitze. Ra Rabbi Yochanan Dvar Shal Rabbi Nachum, Rabbi Yossi, but only Begerishim. V'lo ra v'misa. He accepted the chumrah of Rabbi Menachem with regard to Gerish. If you have 2 Kiti Eidim that contradict one another, whether Nizgarsh or lo Nizgarsh, and she's not allowed to get married because the 2 Eidim were saying lo Nizgarsh, and she went ahead and she got married, it's Teitze mi Baila Sheni. That's all in the case of Gerish. But in the case of Misa, we have 2 Eidim who testify that he died, and 2 Eidim say no, he didn't die. In such a case, lo Teitze. Why? The Gemara asks my timer. Misa en yichola machashto. Gerishin yichola machashto. If you have 2 Eidim who say that he died, testify that he died, 2 Eidim machrichos, and they say he didn't die, the husband may come back alive. And you can't say that he died. And therefore, she's going to be absolutely frightened about getting married to another man based on the testimony of 2 Eidim who say that her husband died, when her husband may be alive, and maybe we'll find out about it. So here's where Rabbi Yochanan parts ways from Rabbi Nachum, Rabbi Yossi, and he holds that we don't have to bust up the marriage. Why? Because we're going to feel very comfortable and confident that she's not lying, that she actually investigated it and came to the conclusion that her husband is dead. Barlo la shemes baila. And in such a case, we don't have to break up her marriage. Like the case we had before of Nisei Slecha made there, or Omeres Barili. But in the case of Gerishin, what's going to happen? The husband's going to come back and he says, well, I deny that I gave you a get. She could deny what he says and counter against him and say Girash Tani, as we'll see in the Gemara. And therefore, Teitze Mibaila Sheni, because we're going to assume that she didn't do adequate investigation, what we call due diligence. She didn't do a birur heitev before she got married, and she was in a suffix situation. But the Gemara asks to me chatzifa kule hai. Is a woman going to have such a chutzpah that she would be able to fabricate the truth in the presence of her husband and say girashtani? So when she says niskarashti, we're going to have to assume that she was absolutely certain of it. We don't have to suspect that that she relies on the fact that she'll be able to contradict her husband. She doesn't have the guts and the gall, to contradict her husband, because eino isha me'iza poneh b'fnei baila. So again, we should be somech on her claim niskarashti, even though there are two Eidim who deny that she had a get. So why do you say, Rabbi Yochanan, in the case of Trey on Gerushin, in this case, Teitze? My answer is Hani Mili. When do we apply the principle of Anisha Beisa put everything by Lehech the Leka even become a Sayala? She doesn't have two witnesses to support her. She has two Eidim who are supporting her when she claims that she was miscarriageisha. She's going to say Girashtani. And the Eidim are supporting and reiterating that same taina, that Girashtani. And therefore, Rabbi Yochanan agrees that according to Rabbi Nachum, Rabbi Yossi, and Gerushin, and this says Isha Teitze. Why? Because she's Me'iza, and she has no inhibitions about saying that her husband was Megarish, because she has two Eidim to support her. Rav Asi Omar, no. We can say that Rabbi Yochanan agrees to the Rabbana. And therefore, in the case of Niseis li Echad Meidel or Omer's Barili Lo Teitze. But what is Rabbi Yochanan referring to? Igon the Amri Eidim Achshav Meis. The last pair of witnesses say that now he died, and they're contradicting the two witnesses that said Lomes. Or Achshav Girsha, of recent times, she received a get. Okay, now what's the difference between the case of Trey on Misa and Trey on Gerish? That's what the Gemara is going to explain now. Misa, if there were two Eidim who said Mace, and two Eidim contradict them and say Lo Mace, Leka Librura, we cannot necessarily clarify. It's not necessarily true that we can clarify and establish for sure that he died. Maybe he got, he drowned in the bottom of the ocean, or maybe he was swallowed up by a lion, or I don't know what. So we can't prove and establish the Eidim who testify that he died. That's called Leka Librura. No, so why is Gerushin any different? Gerushin is equal to the Amrina law in Isa the Hachi Havi absolutely gite. You're telling me that just a week ago you got divorced by your husband. Okay, now you have two Eidim to support your claim. But where's your get? It's not regular for a woman to lose her get right after she received it. She needs that get as proof to establish that she was divorced. So therefore, even in this case, Teitze. So again, in a case of mace, we're not going to say to her, well, prove that he died. How's she going to prove that he's died? His body is not even in existence. In the case of a get, when she says Gerish Tani, we're going to ask her to prove that she got a get. Where's he get? We learned to the price of Shnaim, and his Kadsha. Two Edu say that she was married to so-and-so. Ushnayim, Omrim, Lonis Kadsha. She wasn't married at all, not to anybody. Is Harezu Lotinase. She can't marry someone else because maybe she's married. If she marries someone else, Lo Teitze, we can allow the second marriage to continue to and perpetuate. But if she had a Cheskes Eishes Ish, and Shnayim Omen is Garsha, and 2:8 testify that she was divorced by her husband. Shnayim Omen Lon is Garsha. So this Brisa would support Rabbi Yochanan, as we saw the distinction between Trey in the case of Misa and Trey in the case of Gerish. And Maishna Reisha on the top of Chavgim, Maishna Seifa, Amar Abai Tigum Veid Echad, Eid Echad Niskach, Eid Echad Lo Niskach, Chavai B'Pnui Kamisadi, Vai de Kamri, de Kamer Niskacha, is Havale Chad, the Invarv Shal Chad, Shal Echad B'Makom Shnayim. All right, we'll stop here on the top of Chav Gimel Amid Al.